Adam Bazalgette here, founder of Scratch Golf Academy. Today we're going to look at another amateur golfer's swing. Ben, he's a Scratch Golf Academy member, sent his swing, and he's got a lot of good things in his golf swing, but one or two things that I think are really holding him back. Again, the idea of these is maybe for interest, but showing how I break a swing down, or how I think the swing should be broken down at any rate, and what you might pick up from that. So there we are. There's Ben on the left, a young Tiger Woods. Not sure I'd like to be compared with him, but on the right, but we're going to do it to Ben. So toe line hits about triceps, I say, for Ben. His weight's back in the heels a little bit too much. So a little bit too much bend here, a little too much depth in the hips there. I think we'd like to clean that up. And he's probably going to have to get a tiny bit farther from the ball. And most likely we would get the club a little bit taller, which would help Ben stand up just a little bit there like that. As I say, he does a lot of things that are really good. Now let's have a look from the front angle and we'll see something here that I think is pretty noteworthy. And we'll stick with this Tiger. Well, it's not the same Tiger Woods swing, a different one. So watch Ben here. Watch how his hips really squash in and really move to the target. So I would say that's the end of the backswing. So, you know, if you take it just a look from there up, okay, the club's a little too squashed down against his head, but it's pretty good. There's a nice coil, good straight left arm. Club face looks fairly good from that angle. Let's get the brightness back on the TV. Watch Tiger, though. Watch how his body gets longer. So he's getting significantly more stretch here and length here. We'll talk about that in just a minute as we get out there. And you can see much less angle between, try that again, between upper and lower body. You don't see near as much of this kind of an angle in there. So that's something we want to get rid of, because as you'll see in a few minutes here, the fact that the swing's a little bit narrow and the fact that really Ben gets almost too far in front of the ball. I mean, Woods gets to his left side, no question about that. But if we look at where he is versus where Ben is early in the downswing, Ben's pretty far in front of it. And that combination is getting Ben a little bit steep. So we'll look at that momentarily. Let's get outside and make a comment. So at setup, we have bend in the body there, but you don't see great players at the top of their backswing with all this bend. Now, Ben's kind of bending into the front hip, but there's too much bend there. So I'm going to show you on the computer a couple of ideas I would have for him, but he needs to feel more elongation, more stretch. And I think as he does that, and he can do that without lifting his head, he should feel more space between hands, club, and head, not so cramped. And as you'll see in a moment, what Ben's doing leads him to steepness, which leads him to problems coming through. And I think that more space, more height, more width would really help that. Let's check it out. So there's Ben at the top of his backswing. Here's the feeling I'd be going for, and this is deliberately exaggerated a bit. Stretching the body, reaching for the ceiling a little bit more up here. And you can see my body's a lot straighter. And you can do that without actually lifting up. Ben needs to practice this. Any golfer needs to practice this sort of stuff away from the golf course a little bit. Get the feel. Most people, it's always full speed at the ball. No good. So, hey, look at that backswing. Lots to like. Club face is good. Shaft is on a good plane. The general look of the arms is good. It's a little narrow, but if he had more space, again, I'm exaggerating that, you would get this sort of an effect. Let's look at Tiger Woods again. Let's go down the line. There's a lot more space and height. The club would come down more from near the elbow, from behind that shoulder where it's supposed to come down, and less. Let's get Ben into his downswing. He's coming down right up by the neckline and the front forearm. So Ben's coming down too steeply. It's not that the shaft is all that vertical. It's just over here too much. Should be more over there. And he's going to cut across this ball a little bit, as you'll see. Therefore, you know, in this case, leaving the face open. And one of the things that happens when a golfer comes down too steeply, they're creating too much angle down to the ground. You see a variety of compensations. The two most common are either to bend the arms, narrowing the radius so you don't jam the club in the ground, or what Ben does, which is the better of the options, is raise the axis. So now he raises his body subconsciously, so there's space for his arms to hit. Obviously, Woods doesn't need that. He can square the club and rip right through there. Let's have a look from the front view. There's Ben. There's Tiger, no doubt winning that week, probably in that stage in his career. There he is. So, again, Tiger stretches up. He's nice and centered. He's just not sitting into this hip the same way Ben is. So we know he's on a better plane. And from there, again, he doesn't need to raise up. He can just move through the shot. Ben having to lift a little bit and add. That's actually pretty good lag Ben has there. But because he's lifting, as he lifts, he tends to throw it a little bit right there and loses control of the club. Let's go one frame back there, right in front of that front pant leg. You can see for the instant after contact, Tiger doesn't have near as much throw there, but those are things that are results of the other things. So let's get out and wrap it up here, and I'll take you through my thoughts. So again, it's important to see patterns and themes and cause and effect. And the best I can come up with is this. What's Ben's biggest issue? He's got a lot of good things. He cuts across the ball. He's too steep. And in the bargain, he has to stand up to create space, loses a little control of his hands. Why is Ben too steep? Well, he's sitting back in his heels and he's squashed. And as he goes back, he sits even more into his hip, gets even more squashed and fairly narrow. And I'm exaggerating, but that's enough to get that club on top of the golf ball. So by getting him a little bit taller, less in his heels, by starting to create some length and stretch so he's not sitting into that hip, by giving his arms a little more space, he's got some talent, this guy. I don't think he's going to have any problems being steep from there. Once he's there, hey, then he's going to have to work some impact drills, stay in the shot, have a little more control of the shaft, but that comes down the road a bit. This guy could play well if he could take things in order and work on it. Hope this helps.